Explanation of Gojo's abilities. Welcome to the first episode of this series. Write in the comments an explanation of which abilities you want next. If you are able to see beyond those amazing looks of his, you will realize that Gojo Satoru's insanely powerful curse technique, Jijakutami, the Genius One-Eyed Cyclops Cat, has used some complex concepts of mathematics as the basis of Gojo's powers. I will try my best to break it down for you. So what exactly is Limitless and Infinity? Whenever Jogo tried to land a hit on Gojo, there was an invisible barrier that he could not overcome. This impenetrable space between Gojo Satoru and his opponents that shields him from their attacks, both physical and cursed, is known as the Infinity. But before we get into detail about Infinity, we need to know about the Limitless cursed technique. This basically enables Gojo to use Infinity. Limitless is a cursed technique that is hereditary to the Gojo clan. This technique lets Satoru manipulate space, which he keeps doing constantly. Just like Satoru tells Jogo, Infinity is real. He is just bringing it into existence with the help of his cursed technique. Gojo manipulates space at an atomic level to create infinite amounts of finite space between his opponent himself. But unlike real convergent, divergent series, Satoru's Infinity is just a fantasy. There is no real number that is present here, just an unknown that we get when divided by zero. That's why this power got the name Limitless. Infinity is the neutral state of Limitless. It is not a cursed technique in itself. As opposed to the common assumption, Infinity does not stop any attacks. Satoru was not stopping Jogo from touching him or hitting him. It was more like the cursed spirit was slowing down the closer he got to Satoru. Gojo used the example of convergence and divergence to help the cursed spirit understand what was happening. In mathematics, no matter how much you divide a number, it never really becomes zero. But it keeps getting smaller and smaller. The amount by which it gets smaller becomes less every time. Akutami gives an even better example of Achilles and the tortoise in the manga. Achilles and the tortoise is a famous paradox by Greek philosopher Zeno. For those not familiar, here's the logic for the same taken straight out of Britannica. Achilles' paradox in logic, an argument attributed to the 5th century BC Greek philosopher Zeno, and one of his four paradoxes described by Aristotle in the treatise Physics. The paradox concerns a race between the fleet-footed Achilles and a slow-moving tortoise. The two start moving at the same moment, but if the tortoise is initially given a head start and continues to move ahead, Achilles can run at any speed and will never catch up with it. So, the closer one gets to Satoru, the slower they become. Think of it like there's infinite amounts of finite space separating the two. The closer they get to Satoru, the more minute space they have to traverse, increasing the time to impact. Gojo Satoru is able to use Limitless so well to manipulate space due to his impressive control of cursed energy thanks to his Six Eyes technique. Like we explained before, Infinity is the neutral state of the Limitless. When Gojo uses negative cursed energy to power up the Limitless, he is able to create negative spaces that cause attraction or magnetism effects. This is known as the cursed technique lapse, blue. Gojo uses this technique and makes objects get attracted to a single point. Experiencing a near-death situation and understanding the very essence of cursed energy, Gojo is able to use the cursed technique lapse maximum cursed energy output, Azure Glow. In this he able to output maximum cursed energy with the Limitless and cause one point to attract a large amount of space to itself. It is a much more destructive version of the cursed technique lapse blue. By using Limitless along with the positive reversed cursed energy, Satoru is able to create a repelling force which is the cursed technique reversal, red. He used against Jogo in the battle, Satoru passing the terms at the divergence of Infinity, by powering Limitless with reversed cursed energy instead of negative cursed energy. The effects of cursed technique lapse blue is reversed here, causing repelling. Basically, he is bringing Infinity, which is normally an invisible phenomenon, into reality as a tangible explosive force. But combining the blue and red forms of the Limitless, Gojo creates an imaginary technique called the Hollow Purple. This technique is the expulsion of imaginary mass. Scientifically speaking, an attack containing imaginary mass particles would travel faster than light. The hollow purple is Satoru's ace up the sleeve against opponents who already know about the blue and red variations of the Limitless. Gojo's domain has been referred to by multiple names: Infinite Void, Immeasurable Void, and Unlimited Void. But they all are the same. When a person curse is caught in the unlimited void, they're overwhelmed with endless information and stimuli, rendering them paralyzed. Or, that's how the victim perceives it. Let me explain using Gojo versus Jogo fight as an example. Here, Jogo was completely overwhelmed. He couldn't process anything at first, so he felt like there was nothing around him. But then he realized that his brain was actually trying to process too much information, rendering him incapable of doing anything. This isn't quite right. Gojo explains this phenomenon as the actions of perception, communication that people take in life being forced upon them infinitely. Here, what Gojo means to say is that there isn't infinite information. Rather, Jogo is repeating the same thought process so many times that he can't even comprehend what his thoughts are. The translation note below explains it further. It clearly states that Jogo wouldn't think about the objects in front of him. He's forced to think about his first thought infinitely. Here, that thought is A. It's exactly how the last lines of the notes says. The victim feels like they can see everything. Gojo creates an illusion of sorts where his opponent feel like they're bombarded with limitless info, whereas he's just exercising the powers of his ability Limitless and Six Eyes to make it seem like there's infinite information. Just like Gojo can manipulate matter to create infinite amounts of finite space, he is able to stretch out a finite amount of info into infinite amounts. It is a first copy of how Gojo actually feels when he is able to know and feel, all while he uses the Six Eyes technique. With the brain trying to comprehend whatever data is being fed to it, it is stuck perceiving and communicating it to the body. But before the body can move or take any action, more info is perceived and another set of communication takes place. Thus, the infinite loop continues and the body cannot move. For Satoru, the unlimited void usually guarantees a win. However, this isn't the case with external factors involved. Crowded places are the biggest disadvantage for the domain, and Shibuya arc is the best example from JJK. Stuck alongside hundreds of non-shamans in the subway, it was impossible for him to open his domain, since his domain would almost instantly kill them all. As a matter of fact, the outer layer of his domain would crush the people who weren't caught in his domain. Due to this, he had to open his domain for 0.2 seconds. Those 0.2 seconds caused the affected people to receive therapy for 2 months before they could continue their lives normally. It is quite obvious that the unlimited void is very dangerous, even for shamans, and hence Gojo can't use it in a crowded place. Disability doesn't have any other disadvantage. It is the definition of overpower. The only way to overpower this domain would be to have more cursed energy output than Satoru. In the manga, Akatsu says that he has more cursed energy than Gojo. Considering that, do you think he will be able to beat Gojo? So, what do you think about Gojo Satoru's domain, the Unlimited Void? Do you like it? Too overpowered? What are your opinions on Gojo Satoru's powers? If you still have nagging questions about it, let me know them in the comments section. And write in the comments what I should talk about in the next video. See you guys soon!